"You are late, Sybil," said her aunt severely. "Am I?" she responded with languid indifference. "So sorry. Papa, are you an extemporized fire screen?" Lord Elton hastily moved to one side, rendered suddenly conscious of his selfish monopoly of the blaze. "Are you not cold, Miss Chesney?" continued Lady Sybil in accents of studied courtesy. "Would you not like to come nearer the fire?" Diana Chesney had become quite subdued, almost timid, in fact. "Thank you," she murmured, and her eyes drooped with what might have been called retiring maiden modesty, had not Miss Chesney's qualities soared far beyond that trite description. "We heard some shocking news this morning, Mr. Tempest," said Lady Sybil, looking at Lucio rather than at me. "No doubt you read it in the papers. An acquaintance of yours, Viscount Linton, shot himself last night." I could not repress a slight start. Lucio gave me a warning glance, and took it upon himself to reply. "Yes, I read a brief account of the affair. Terrible indeed. I also knew him slightly." "Did you? Well, he was engaged to a friend of mine," went on Lady Sybil. "I myself think she has had a lucky escape, because though he was an agreeable man enough in society, he was a great gambler and very extravagant, and he would have run through her fortune very quickly. But she cannot be brought to see it in that light. She is dreadfully upset. She had set her heart on being a viscountess." "I guess," said Miss Chesney demurely, with a sly sparkle of her eyes, "it's not only Americans who run after titles. Since I've been over here I've known several really nice girls marry downright mean doughheads just for the sake of being called my lady or your grace. I like a title very well myself, but I also like a man attached. I like a man attached to it." The Earl smothered a chuckling laugh. Lady Sybil gazed meditatively into the fire, and went on as though she had not heard. "Of course, my friend will have other chances. She is young and handsome, but I really think, apart from the social point of view, she was a little in love with the Viscount." "Nonsense, nonsense," said her father somewhat testily. "You always have some romantic notion or other in your head, Sybil. One season ought to have cured you of sentiment. Ha ha ha! She always knew he was a dissolute rascal. She was going to marry him with her eyes wide open to the fact. When I read in the papers that he had blown his brains out in a hansom, I said, 'Bad taste, bad taste, spoiling a poor cabby's stock in trade to satisfy his selfish whim.' Ha ha! But I thought it was good riddance of bad rubbish. He would have made any woman's life utterly miserable." "No doubt he would," responded Lady Sybil listlessly. "But all the same, there's such a thing as love sometimes." She raised her beautiful liquid eyes to Lucio's face, but he was not looking her way, and her steadfast gaze met mine instead. What my looks expressed, I know not, but I saw the rich blood mantle warmly in her cheeks, and a tremor seemed to pass through her frame. Then she grew very pale. At that moment one of the gorgeous footmen appeared at the doorway. "Dinner is served, my lord." "Good," said the Earl, and proceeded to pair us all. "Prince, you will take Miss Fitzroy. Mr. Tempest, my daughter falls to your escort. I will follow with Miss Chesney." We set off in this order down the stairs, and as I walked behind Lucio with Lady Sybil on my arm, I could not help smiling at the extreme gravity and earnestness with which he was discussing church matters with Miss Charlotte, and the sudden utter enthusiasm that apparently seized that dignified spinster at some of his remarks on the clergy, which took the form of the most affectionate and respectful eulogies, and were totally reverse of the ideas he had exchanged with me on the same subject. Some spirit of mischief was evidently moving him to have a solemn joke with the high-bred lady he escorted, and I noted his behavior with a good deal of inward amusement. "Then you know the dear canon?" I heard Miss Charlotte say. "Most intimately," said Lucio with fervor, "and I assure you I am thankful to have the privilege of knowing him. A truly perfect man, almost a saint, if not quite." "So pure-minded," sighed the spinster. "So free from every taint of hypocrisy," murmured Lucio with intense gravity. "Ah, yes, yes, indeed, and so—" Here they passed into the dining-room, and I could hear no more. I followed with my beautiful partner, and in another minute we were all seated at table. end of chapter 11 of The Sorrows of Satan.